So I think that no matter the size and significance of a place, the way that something is defined as iconic is how you feel about it. Do you have a place like that? You're listening to All the Best from FBI Radio 94.5. I'm Gabriella Acaria. So this week we explore all things iconic. But before we get into this week's stories, I want to acknowledge that I'm recording from stolen and Gadigal land, and I pay my respects to Gadigal elders past and present. I also recognise that the area where FBI Radio is situated, Redfern, has long been a place of storytelling, strength, resistance, and resilience for First Nations communities. When I think about iconic, I think about Bankstown Sports Club, but specifically an Italian restaurant called La Piazza, which I like to call fake Venice. And if you grew up with it like I did, you know. It has trashy Venice windows with the fake washing lines overlooking a very echoey and much too loud restaurant. So, do you have a place in mind that's not necessarily considered iconic by other people, but it holds a place in your heart? And what happens when those places get refreshed or gentrified? This first story dives into what happens when that go-to trashy spot gets a massive do-over.
When I'm looking for a pub, there's not too many boxes that need ticking. A place that sells standard beer at a reasonable price is normally enough for me. The sports bar at Brunswick's Moreland Hotel fit this mould. It had cheap beer, the footy, pool. It was spitting distance from my front door. But just one room over from this generic sports bar, the Moreland Hotel transforms into someplace bizarre, someplace extraordinary.
There was one time where I brought someone there for the first time. They actually arrived before me. And then when I got there, they were like texting me like, am I in the right place? Like, did you mean to take me here? Because like, this is a really weird room. I was like, nah, this is the spot.
That's Hannah, a Brunswick local who's been going to the Moreland for years. That room that she's talking about, it's an ostentatious dining hall modelled on ancient Rome. It's like something out of a Vegas casino, right on the very edge of Brunswick. On a typical evening, families dine on pub meals under an enormous dome, its ceiling painted with a baby blue sky and fluffy white clouds. In the adjacent playground, kids amuse themselves beneath a replica coliseum. But what really gets people's attention is the hall's centrepiece, an 8-foot-tall replica of Michelangelo's David, a Brunswick icon. Like many Moreland Hotel regulars, Hannah adored the one-of-a-kind interior. But back in 2022, she heard something alarming about the pub while dining there with friends.
Yeah, we were just ordering and we just started chatting to the waiter, just saying like, you know, this place, we love it so much.
That's when Hannah heard the news. The Moreland's themed dining hall would soon be gutted and one of Brunswick's most unique interiors would be renovated, turning the Moreland Hotel into just another standard pub.
I was like, they can't do it. And yeah, I went home and I just was like, how can we like stop this?
The renovation plan was devised by Moreland Hotel's owners, Endeavour Group. They're a majority stakeholder of Australian Leisure and Hospitality Group. Its billion-dollar portfolio includes hundreds of pubs and gambling venues across the country. To get their attention, Hannah decided to turn to the community for help.
I'm just going to make a petition and like see what happens. So that's what I did.
Hannah says the Moreland's eccentric interior wasn't the only thing that made it worth saving. To her, it's part of Brunswick's rich history.
I've heard about Brunswick back in the day being a migrant community and my family's Maltese, so I'm connected through that way.
Her grandfather was actually the mayor of Brunswick back in the 70s, and her father was a Moreland Hotel regular.
My dad is from Brunswick originally. Yeah, he told me there's this sort of like old school pub that used to be pretty rough around the edges back in the day, and now there was this, strange room there.
I'll get back to Hannah's petition soon, but first, how did the dining hall get so strange? Originally built in 1899, the Moreland didn't have any of this gaudiness until a man named Bruce popped into Las Vegas in the 1990s. Bruce Matheson, the former CEO of ALH, was the man with the plan. He was inspired by his visit to Caesar's Palace, a luxury Las Vegas hotel and casino. Photographer Jefferson Graham once described Caesar's Palace as the gaudiest, weirdest, most elaborate and most talked about resort Vegas had ever seen. It had frescoed ceilings, classical columns and an enormous replica of Michelangelo's David. When Matheson returned to Australia, he built an homage to Caesar's Palace over 13,000 kilometres away from Vegas. But what started as a billionaire CEO's strange project became a Brunswick institution. Over time, it attracted a new generation of punters who loved the so bad it's good aesthetic.
There's absolutely nothing in the area even remotely close to it.
Tanzer is a Melbourne-based performer who filmed a music video for her 2021 song Deep Fried Disco in the Bistro.
The bistro is decked out like a Vegas-style Italian forum, kind of an interpretation of Italy from another planet, a kind of showgirls-esque American distillation of an Italian fantasy.
Originally from New South Wales, she actually spent part of her childhood in Rome.
Traditional images, like the Statue of David, the Colosseum, have always had a very romantic kind of childhood nostalgia place for me.
About a year after Tanzer's music video dropped, Hannah heard the news about the interior's impending destruction. She launched her petition in November 2022, and her campaign to save the interior blew up.
The Brunswick community is fighting to save a pub with an unusual interior. The Moreland Hotel is known for its so bad it's good Italian decor that includes a fake Colosseum.
A petition has been started to save the Moreland Hotel's Renaissance-themed interior amid the talk that the owner plans to rip it out.
A petition has been launched to stop the owners stripping the pub's interior.
Columns of various types. He was unable to identify whether they were Ionic, Doric or Corinthian.
Within a few days, the petition received 800 signatures and widespread media coverage.
I was a bit concerned about going back for a while because there was a photo of me out there connected to the petition. I won't obviously say names, but there was someone that worked at the Moreland Hotel who reached out to me. We met up and he just told me, all the workers, support this. We don't want to see it go either. The workers were, devastated about it as well.
As public support for Hannah's campaign grew, the petition surpassed 2,000 signatures. So what did Endeavour Group have to say?
I didn't hear from them directly. I did hear that they weren't very happy with me.
But in a statement to a local outlet, the Brunswick Voice, the group defended the plan. They described the renovation as a refreshed experience that would appeal to a broader demographic. They also said they understood the passion for the hotel's distinctive features and made a commitment to honouring the community's sentiments. I was at work one day and received a text from my cousin. I opened it and it was a pic of David lying felled in the rubble where the playground used to be. The public outcry unfortunately didn't do too much to the hospitality Goliath. The Endeavour Group closed the bistro for renovations on the 27th of July 2025. This was shortly after the Moreland Hotel posted a photo on the Instagram of a ripped-up dome with David under the cracked sky. The caption read, "Out with the old, in with a lot of dust. We're well on our way to creating a fresh new space for you all to enjoy." At the back behind chain-link fences for waste, you can see crushed-up styrofoam remnants of the Roman decor. The campy Greek lettering on the Moreland Hotel sign will be modernised with a very unremarkable future font. The kind you'd see at the top of a website of a soulless, generic financial consultancy firm. Needless to say, Hannah's pretty devastated.
Yeah, it just feels like it's a lot more profitable for those companies to just cater to young, trendy adults who, I guess, spend more money, not have a venue for families or cheap meals or cheap drinks.
I asked whether I'd be potentially bumping into her at the pub sometime soon after the renos are completed.
I'm going to do a walkthrough to see what's happened to David. Other than that, I'm really disappointed. They just wanted more profit, I guess, so I don't really want to be spending my money there. I'll spend my money somewhere else.
The bistro is still currently under construction. The once blue clouded dome has just been cut in half. Against all odds, however, David survived. He's now in the sports bar, slapped anachronistically in the corner like a sticker ripped away from his faux marble homeland. Tanzer and Hannah's appreciation stemmed from how strange the pub was. With the gutting of the bistro, the Moreland will just become another standard pokey den, like the other four on the area's main street. Low-priced beer is always still pretty high on the list, but the Moreland showed me that communal spaces could offer so much more. It might have been gaudy, eccentric and even unsightly to some, but that certainly was a major appeal to a lot of people. Preserving something so unique is always worth fighting for, even if it's a losing battle.
You're listening to All the Best. I'm Gabriella Accaria. That first story you heard was produced by Lou Walsh, and the supervising producer was Tom Phillips. Hey, and if you love audio stories, you can donate to the show to support the next generation of audio storytellers. Head to allthebestradio.com/donate to make a tax-deductible donation. So, we all have our little iconic spots that are so bad that they turn good, and not everyone agrees with you on their significance. But then we have huge structures that are so well known that so many people pass through every day, like Central Station Grand Concourse. It's obviously an iconic spot for Sydney-siders and a social hub. Everyone leaves their footprints and lots of stories can cross over through this. These iconic structures hold a lot of weight, perhaps for eternity. Content warning for this story. There are mentions of death, trauma and abuse, so please listen with care.
This audio has mentions of death, traumas, and abuse. We aim to share a hopeful message, but if you're feeling vulnerable, please choose not to listen. Your well-being comes first.
Morning, customers. Welcome to Central Station. Customers with bookings for the 9 and 35 and the underground service.
You're walking at the central station of Sydney. It is like any other day. Old, young, a homeless, or a salesman, a patient and a doctor, a kid with a father. Some tourists speaking a language that you've never heard before. A homeless man lying on the floor, looking for a place to sleep. It is like any other day in the Grand Concourse. Busy. People walk past by, come and go. Oops. Your tummy starts to growl and you look around to find somewhere to eat. Or a vending machine, if less. Then, this big restaurant with big windows and big letters comes into your sight. And it is called eternity. You're in the middle of the Grand Concourse. Maybe you never recognize even walking 1,000,000 times the same path, but here it is. Perhaps eternity. Episode 1. Do you know Arthur Stace?
No.
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 I can't say I have.
No, I don't think so. No.
Not personally. Sorry, that's not a yes or no answer, is it?
I know of Arthur Stace.
But I know of Arthur Stace. My name's Rowan Kemp. I'm an Anglican chaplain at the University of Sydney.
Okay, my name's Deirmendjian and I'm an artist.
I had heard the story of Arthur Stace and I was giving a talk that referenced eternity, and so I thought I should go back and reinvestigate Arthur Stace. Arthur was born in the 1880s.
Yeah, he had a life of drunkenness and he had been jailed, I believe. But then he turned his life around, so...
It was in 1930, at age 45, he had turned up to church at St Barnabas Broadway in Sydney, and he heard a preacher there speak on Isaiah 57 in the Christian Old Testament. And the preacher said, I've got my notes here, the preacher said, "Eternity, eternity, I wish that I could sound or shout that word to everyone in the streets of Sydney. You've got to meet it. where will you spend eternity? And Arthur was so struck by that. What he then did was he wrote the word eternity in beautiful copperplate writing right across Sydney, in all sorts of places, on footpaths, on buildings, and he did this for decades, for 27 years in fact, before anyone worked out who it was. And it was well known in Sydney at the time that someone was writing eternity and no one knew who, and Arthur did this for 27 years before finally being spied by somebody and revealed, because he wanted everybody in Sydney to think about the concept of eternity.
This word appearing completely out of the blue, temporarily so, of course the rain would wash it away, but it would reappear and reappear. So the persistence of it, you might try to destroy hope over and again, but then the word kept reappearing. As I said, I don't share his faith. So I can't speak on him, but his gesture of gift. If you wanted to compare that in a crude sense to graffiti, let's say, most of the graffiti people are writing their name or their own personal tag. It's about me, right? It's not about something grander. So he wasn't writing down Arthur Stace. He was, I guess, provoke some thought amongst the people who saw that mark, that word. In his case, it was just one simple word of eternity.
And so the effect he had was not just for his own lifetime and not just sort of in the legends of Sydney, but right around the world, that eternity has been posed as a question.
Hey, I'm walking near the Eastern Avenue. I'm gonna get back my trauma box, so I put a can at one of the small alleys in the university campus, and there it is, yay. Okay, I've put a sticky note and a pen so that the people can write down their traumas and share and put inside. My plan was to read them together and share the struggles of our life and the burdensomes. But I became overwhelmed during the reading when I had to read them out. They were so hearted and so scar-filled. There were lots of reference to sexual abuse. Some were talking about rape. Relationships and abuse that was inside. Traumas due to mental illness and not having the available help that we need while going through that. Lots of people were talking about death, where they had to experience someone killing something that they loved, someone dying in a tragic accident. And it continues, and I felt, wow, the world that we live is so broken. I am at the central station waiting for someone. 17-year-old me, fully drowned in nihilism. No one comes, no one knows. But one word appears in front of my eyes and in front of your eyes. And it is perhaps eternity.
I think what Arthur did was very powerful in posing what is probably the most important question that human beings can face, no matter where they live in the world, no matter what era they live in the world, is that maybe we have been made for something more than 60, 70, 90 years. Maybe we've actually been made for eternity.
Thanks for listening to our first episode of our podcast series, Perhaps Eternity, where we will start on our journey to explore the idea of eternity in more detail from the next episodes. Would you like to join the journey with us?
You're listening to All the Best, proudly sponsored by the Art Gallery of New South Wales. I'm Gabriella Akaria. That story was produced by Hwang, and it was produced by part of a podcasting unit at USyd. Special thanks to Lee Redfern. What makes something so iconic that it becomes viral? Is it just a meme? So is it funny? Is it relatable? Or does it hold some sort of emotional appeal? Or is it that great that some people don't quite believe it's real? In our next story, John Thomas travels back to 2007 to explore an iconic photo.
Murray McKean's photo of the beached Pasha Balka is quite a sight. The grey ocean in the background, a gigantic boat stuck between the sand and crashing waves, buildings and people in the foreground becoming miniatures in the Balka's presence. This singular image has gone viral around the world, but not because of its brilliance, but because some people think it's fake. The story goes back to June 8th, 2007, with Newcastle undergoing a great storm. With 300 millilitres of rain in just 24 hours causing the flooding of around 10,000 properties, it was intense. So intense, a coal-carrying ship made its way from the harbour onto the shore of Nobby's Beach.
I remember driving along King Street early in the morning and I heard ABC radio saying there was a ship about to land on Nobby's Beach. And then someone said it's a coal carrier. I thought, holy dooly. I remember looking up and the rain was horizontal. I took a couple of pictures, but all my gear got wet. I got wet. It was just horrible.
Having not the most successful day in photography, Murray decided to try again the next day once the storm had blown over. But that left him with a very different problem.
By then it was all fenced off. There was, SES, police, ambulances, and it was just crazy. I looked around and tried to find a vantage point that would give me a point of view that was different. And I thought, I wonder if I can see the ship from there. Christchurch Cathedral. Sun was out, the waves were crashing, sky was blue, the ship was red. It was like a art director's dream.
So, end of story, right? The beached boat was real, as is the cathedral, and the view of the beach. Well, no. See, the accusations are all due to a singular line. There's a wave or straight line in the image that separates two differently coloured bodies of water, making people think it's
two images cropped together.
In reality, this difference in colour is easily explained by the rainwater disturbing silt in the harbour. To give you an idea of just how far this image has gone, in December 2024, an American influencer posted the photo to X.
Over a 24-hour period, that image was viewed 53 million times.
Making it easily the most viewed photo of Newcastle, and quite possibly of all Australia.
You're listening to All the Best, proudly sponsored by the Art Gallery of New South Wales. I'm Gabriella Akaria. The production and sound design of that story was by John Thomas, and it was produced as part of a media unit at the University of Newcastle. Special thanks to Dr. Janine Baker, who was also the supervising producer of this story. And if you love audio stories, keep listening to All the Best for audio adventures from around the corner and around the country. New episodes drop Tuesdays, 4 p.m. Sydney time, and you can find scores of local stories in our archive at allthebestradio.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to learn how to make a radio story, get in touch with us. All the Best is made at FBI Radio on Gadigal land, and it features producers, stories, and voices from unceded Aboriginal lands across so-called Australia. We're made possible by the Community Broadcasting Foundation, and we're sponsored by the Art Gallery of New South Wales. Kwame Slusher is our production manager. Katarina Fraga Matos is our community and events coordinator. The All the Best executive producer is Mel Bakewell. Imogen Brosnan is our digital media trainee, and a special shout out to all of our amazing volunteers. Shining Bird composed our theme music, and Annie Hamilton designed the artwork. You can find our full archive of almost 700 episodes at allthebestradio.com. I'm Gabriella Acaria. Thanks for listening.